Hey Lions fans, welcome back to the Coaches Show. We're here with Coach Josh Epperson, head women's basketball coach here at Freed-Hardeman. And Coach, thanks for your time. Really great season so far, having a lot of success. What do you think has been the thing that you're the most proud of, or the thing that's contributed the most to that success this year?
Well, it's been defense consistently has been our strength, and we're the top team in the conference defensively. We have, for most of the year, been the top team in the country in points per game allowed. We are always the top in the Massey rating, which basically is how much we hold them under what's normal. Which that's really important, especially in our conference where teams average 90. So it's really tough to all of a sudden keep them. Like our averages, we average 49 points per game is what we allow. Well, we're going to still, we've held some to 50 to 55. Well, that's 30-some points under their average. So, but that's something we've been really proud of this year, is that we have played really consistent defense. And so that's something, a lot of people talk about what makes a great defensive team. But all those, a lot of times, are not the measurable things. They're things that are more of the cohesiveness, your effort, your hustle, and things like that. So it's really good to be proud of that.
Yeah, not a lot of defensive stats.
No, exactly.
Points per game. That you
points per
mentioned.
game, you have some of those, but definitely it's a tougher one too to sell, because individually it's really tough to point out the defensive player of the game. That's very difficult. Most people don't do that. If they have shows like this, they're not like, the defensive player of the game was such and such, because they had this, this, and this. But we have a lot of players that have bought into that, even though there's not a lot of headlines for it.
Well, that's awesome. And how do you, well, just talk about the conference first. I mean, the new rankings came out yesterday. We're 23. We had Campbellsville at 3. Cumberland's at 11. What is it, Lit?
So Georgetown's at 11.
Cumberland's is 15.
Yeah.
So,
and it's really splitting hairs as far as right now in the standings. Cumberland's really, when it comes down to it, is ahead in our conference standing over Georgetown, but they're not in the poll. And so, but that just shows everybody's so balanced that it's really, who knows what's going to happen here. Georgetown plays Cumberland on Saturday. That game will determine a lot. That determines a lot for us. I met with the girls. We had a stand last week where we had 2 really tough ones at Cumberland and Georgetown. Lost both of them. In fairly close games. The final score may not show it, but they were close games throughout where it could have went either way. And so, but that's the thing with all 4 of our teams. They're at the top. They're really close. And even Lindsey Wilson, who's receiving votes at one point, that beat us at their place, they're right there too, and they can play with anybody. They were in a close game with Cumberland's about a week or so ago. So it's all our top teams in the country, and they're all probably going to be underseeded in the national tournament versus what they can do. I think we realistically have 4, possibly 5 teams that could end up in the Sweet 16, and that shows that all of us are really some of the top teams in the country.
I mean, even Cumberland, Tennessee, 1-7 in the conference. We only beat them by 6 at home.
Yes.
So,
yeah, and they're really good. They went to overtime with the number 14 team in the country earlier in the year. So they're a tough team. That's our next game, and really focusing on them because we know how difficult that is. They beat Bethel about 2 weeks ago, and so we know that they're a team that we have no bad teams in our conference. I was talking to Coach the other week. They had 12 teams in our conference, and 4 of them are teams where either they have 3 or 4 people that are injured at this point, so they're just not as good, or they weren't good to start with. There are 3 or 4 teams in most conferences that you can have a bad day and still win. In our conference, if you have a bad day, you're probably going to lose.
Right.
So
that makes it really tough. So talk about how you keep positive attitude throughout a season when you go through. You said we lost a couple games last week, but just playing against even our challenging schedule out of conference, we had a really, really good record. And that, the girls probably had a certain attitude about things at that point. Has that changed, or how do you keep them to have that same confidence in themselves?
Yeah, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about do not grow weary of doing good, because in the right time you'll reap the rewards. And so we focus on that a lot as far as we have to do good. And obviously that's on the court, but obviously doing it in life too. But you'll reap the rewards of that. So, one of the quotes I've heard that I really think is true is winning makes you soft, losing can make you disappointed. We have to battle both of those. When you're winning, you can't become soft because of it. When you're losing, you can't be disappointed or discouraged. You have to fight through that. And so that's the thing, coming off 2 losses, now it's fighting, making sure you don't get discouraged from that, because it could have 1 or 2 things goes differently, you don't lose those games. And so you have to reflect on the fact of, okay, we got to go ready for the next one. And I think that is a big if you want to be consistent, you got to just focus on next game. Go 1-0 today versus if you're thinking, oh man, we went 0-2 last week, or or they start thinking about big games coming up or whatever else. If you just focus in on what's next, hey, you have a fresh start every day.
Yeah.
And when you're going through the win streak, you have to have a new start and challenge yourself that day. And when you just lost, guess what? You start new the next day. So if you can have the same mentality no matter what, when you're losing, it's going to help you through the ups and downs and things. If you don't, and we're all human, we all have those times where it's tough. We'll take exercise, for example, right? You've got to go out and win that day, and don't worry about the fact you didn't work out in the last 2 weeks, So, but that's the key, is just every day they got to wake up and just attack it. Yeah, every day is a new day.
All right.
So.
We'll talk real quick about our scenarios going forward. I know we're 4th in the conference right now. How high could we finish? How low? Where are we going to end up?
So our game basically behind 2nd right now, and so but we've split with the 2nd, 3rd place team. So basically, it's all even as far as that goes.
Right. So we could finish as high as 2nd.
As high as 2nd. 1st is out at this point. Campbellsville kind of has secured that. I believe Georgetown is the only team that could possibly catch them if Bethel were to beat Campbellsville tonight. If that doesn't happen, Campbellsville has secured 1st. So if we win out, so if we were to win the next 3, we have a pretty good chance of getting 2nd.
Okay.
If we win 2 the next 3, then it becomes all different types of scenarios as far as that goes. And so, but we need to win 2 the next 3 to make sure we're at least 4th, 3rd, possibly 2nd. 2nd's a little tougher to do if you lose to Campbellsville. It's possible, but you would have to have all the other teams line up, and it's definitely not in our control if that happens. If we win all 3, it's one of those things, we still control our destiny to be in a pretty good spot as far as it goes. I think the significance of that for us is we are trying to host a national tournament.
Right.
The higher seed we are in the conference, the more it looks like we will get to host.
Yeah.
They make that call around February 29th. What happens is, I was on a call right before this, trying to find out, okay, what's the logistics? When is it decided? How do we all know? They throw up on a board in the selection committee, here's all the possible ones.
Okay.
And as they start looking at, we need this spot because these teams probably are making it. And so on that day, they get to kind of sort through, these are the ones that make the most logical sense.
When you say spot, you mean regionalized. So like they need somebody in Tennessee to host because maybe we're the highest ranked team in Tennessee, Alabama. I don't know that. I'm just...
Yeah, no, you're exactly right.
Okay.
Well, that's exactly the right thing. Right now we'd be the highest seed in the state of Tennessee and the state of Alabama. Yeah. So it would make the most sense that they might need somebody here. But if they decide, we've got 2 in Louisiana, so it doesn't matter, they might decide that. Or like for right now, there's 2 teams out of Florida that'll be going. So they decide to give them a site, or they not. Typically they might, because they like to have one that far south. So that's what they're doing. It's just pieces of puzzles as far as that goes.
And the top 25 rankings matter to that too. Like they're not going to put somebody in receiving votes and be like, yeah, you're definitely hosting.
Right, exactly. And so that's why the next couple of games, if we're sitting towards the top of our conference, it would make sense. There are 4 of us that have all put in for it, that have all top 4 teams have. Right. Campbellsville will get the probably host. They've always have. Obviously, they're
number 3 in the country.
Yeah. So they're going to get it. We usually get at least 2 because Thomas More also used to host. They're more northern, obviously. They got some of the Ohio type taste as far as teams going there. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully we can grab that spot down here. But Cumberland's obviously doing well, and Georgetown's put in for it too. Yeah. And everything... It also comes down to airports. Georgetown is close to Lexington.
Okay.
Flights are cheap for people to come there. And so there's all types of dynamics where it may come down to whether or not we win or lose to hosting. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Winning is definitely helpful.
Winning is a good thing. But it may not come down to that. It may come down to, hey, we can get cheaper flights there. We're going to have to fly a couple teams there. So Lexington makes sense. So we need to have Georgetown be the host. So.
Well, that's really fast. So, and then talked to Coach Stutz yesterday.
Yeah.
What's the logistics going to be like? Are we going to if we end up hosting both? Are we ready for that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was nice last year that we got to host a basketball national tournament to prepare for that part. Now having both, we know how that works, and we can do that as well. And us, this will be going on hopefully our 3rd year for me to be in a national tournament setting where I've got to experience at other places to bring some of that knowledge of, okay, this is what we've seen in some other places. Let's bring this to this. And when we were at LSU-A, Alexandria,
it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, they hosted men and women's.
Okay.
So at least I got to see firsthand how they were able to do that too. So we can do it. I mean, it is it's like clockwork. You have to have everything timed out exactly right to fit everybody in the gyms and everybody on campus. Everybody has to, it is, and last year they did a great job of this, but even more if you have both. Everybody on campus has to work to make it a great great atmosphere and everything flow well. Like intramurals, hate to say it, they're going to have to work with us.
Well,
Gym time's going to be a little tough during tournament time.
Stands,
Exactly, right?
I really enjoy watching the game.
It's a really cool atmosphere. If you can get both teams to get to host, it's really cool. So.
I think practice the day before would be the hardest part, right? Where it's like
you start at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Like everybody's got their spot.
You only get an hour, and then you're out.
You got an hour, and you're out. The next team's waiting, and then you can't get in, like because maybe the team you're about to play, you are not allowed near that court where you can hear anything until the boop, that buzzer's like you're in. That team, if you're talking about anything at that point, it's open for the next team to hear.
And that would include you too. Like you're on your home floor, but you have to get out.
Exactly. You know? So there's pros and cons of that, you know. But I think the good thing is, I mean, there's a lot of pros. We get to host; it's a huge advantage as far as that goes.
Well, it's just a fun atmosphere. I mean, like you said, watching the guys' atmosphere last year, and if we could get a crowd like that for a 6:30 girls game or an 8 o'clock guys game, or however we would do it, that would just be a really incredible experience for us.
The good news for us is, so I talked to him about all that seating stuff, and the thing, I asked him, what seed are we right now? Which is still early as toughies, and I'm like, I'm not holding you to this for anything, but I'm like, he said, you know, within the pod of 4 teams, who would be a 2 seed within that pod. So you basically play like a 2-3 type game we'd be in, and then obviously you'd still have to beat, if the 1 beat the 4, you'd have to beat them to get out. That's where we'd stand as of today. So
that's what the men's basketball team was last year.
Exactly. So if we get to host it and we're in the same spot as them, I like our chances, right? So that'd be good.
So all right. Well, I wanted to play a little game. We talked a lot just then about the national tournament, but I want to play a little game called Remember the Statline. I saw this on Instagram the other day.
All right.
And so I've got a game. This is from when you coached here. I'm not going to go back in history.
Okay, that's good.
November 22nd, 2022. So just last year.
Okay.
Early in the season. FHU 72, Bethel 53.
Okay.
All right. So just basic. Who was the leading scorer in the game?
Oh, man, last year in that game. Rachel Satterley.
Rachel Satterley was the leading scorer in the game.
That was kind of one of her breakout games.
Yeah. How many points did she have?
She had over 20, I think. We're going to say 24, 25? Higher. 28?
Yeah. Higher.
Oh my goodness. 30?
Nope.
No, 29. I was like at 29.
Yeah,
I was 29. Like, I didn't think she got 30. Okay.
Okay, weird one here. Leading rebounder.
Oh. Ellie Chumley.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Oh man. It's weird. We'll say KJ White. I don't know if it's the case, but
no.
in this regard.
That's kind of a good guess actually. Sneaky, grabbing lots of rebounds.
Yeah. Man, Kelsey.
Kelsey Benson.
Okay.
There was a 3-way tie.
Okay.
Reagan, Kelsey, and your team was credited with 7. So I don't know if that was Bethel had stone hands or had bad stat keeping.
Right. Like
so I don't know. All right. How many threes did Rachel make?
So you said 29 points. I want to say 7 then.
7. 7 threes is right. How many threes did the rest of the team make?
Ooh. And we had how many points?
You had 72.
We're going to say 13 total.
13. So the rest of the team made
6.
Yes, that was exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then leader in assists.
KJ?
Yep.
Okay.
KJ had 6 assists.
6 assists.
I'm only doing this to pick on Rachel. How many? Or I just gave it away. That was dumb.
Oh no.
Who led in turnovers?
Oh well, I take it Rachel Satterley did.
Yeah. That was funny. I guess you live with 4 turnovers if she's.
Yeah. She can do all that other stuff.
Okay. And then this was the really fascinating thing. You mentioned Rachel's breakout, sort of the beginning of that season.
Yeah.
I think this was our 7th game. What was her 3-point field goal percentage after this game?
It was in the 40s.
Nope.
It was not.
Higher.
51?
Higher.
54?
Higher.
56?
Higher.
58?
61.
Oh my goodness.
She was 61.
Well, there you go.
In the first
pressure.
7 games, she was.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. She was 25 out of 41 from 3.
I knew it was really, really good.
And the next game, I think she was 2 for 3.
Okay.
And so that actually, like, you think that would increase it. No, it stayed right at 61.
Because 2 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
awesome.
That was, like you said, that was a really good stretch there for her.
Yeah.
in those first 8 games. So
yeah.
All right, I think that was really fun. I like doing that. I want to do that some more.
Yeah.
Maybe you can think of some other ones that for us to quiz you on. Well, big game this weekend for you guys.
Yeah.
Home on Saturday versus Campbellsville.
Right.
Number 3 team in the country. Hopefully we can have a big crowd for that. And we'll see you guys next week on the Coaches Show. Thanks, Coach, for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
If you're looking for more information on FHU athletics, you can go to our website, gofhulions.com, or you can follow all of our social media accounts at gofhulions on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you want more information about the Director's Circle or linebackers, there's a link in the description below, and there's also a video with more information that should appear on your screen right here. Thank you so much for watching today. Go Lions!